fix that clock.
Ready? I'd like to call the Litchfield Zoning Board of Adjustment meeting to order on October 20th, 2025 at 7 PM. We'll just start with attendance. Steve, if you want to start, just introduce yourself.
Steve Perry, member.
John Devereaux, member.
Laura Gandia, member.
George Lavash, member.
Member. All right. We have one case on the agenda tonight. As if you want to come up for the first case, I'll read that case. It's case number 2025-1020, a variance request from section 507.04B of the zoning ordinance, is incidental subordinate in extent and use to the primary dwelling and dwelling unit approved for the subject parcel of land. It is not less than 500 square feet or more than 800 square feet of gross living area above ground. Says 920 square feet of living space is requested. We have the applicant's representative is Attorney Andrew Sullivan. Owner of the property is Signature Homes LLC. Location of the property is 26 Talarico Street, map 18, lot 62-21. Perfect.
I was printing everything out and I ran out.
All right, no, that's perfect. Yep, well, we can share.
I have a full schedule.
All right, perfect, thank you. Welcome, Attorney Sullivan. I just wanted to make you aware we only have 4 members, as you know.
I just explained that, and we'll
You
go
are,
forward.
if you want to move forward, just by, okay, so then I will turn the floor over to you.
Thank you. Attorney Andy Sullivan for Signature Homes, owner of the property. Okay, this all came about because they have a prospective buyer very interested in the lot, but they want to provide a spot for their parents to live there as well. They took a lot of time searching on all sorts of plans, and the parents just were not happy coming from a 3,000 square foot home to 800 square feet. They are okay with this 929 square foot ADU, which sits above and behind the garage. So I just want to go over briefly. So it's approximately a 1 acre lot, 170 foot of frontage, about 275 in depth. It meets all dimensional requirements of a single family home in that lot. The addition of the ADU, because it sits behind the 2-car garage and above the 2-car garage in the rear, it seamlessly ties into the whole facade, the lines, if you will, of the house. You know, coming from the front, or the side for that matter, you wouldn't even notice there's an ADU there. It just sits right in. There's no dormers, there's no windows on the second floor. It just looks like a house with a garage. You know, as you know, there's a new ADU law that just became effective. The state allows up to 950 square feet, unless the town, gives permission for more. It's still the lower end on the state level of 750. Your town has 800 square foot. So we're 129 square feet above the town's 800 square foot. We're 21 square feet less than the cap of the state. So we're tied right in there. Looking at your provision at 50704, you had 10 criteria that you have to meet for an ADU. One of them no longer exists because the state law clearly says that the owner of the property shall occupy either with it doesn't have to be an in-law apartment anymore. But we meet that requirement. The owner is going to be the kid or the son of the people that will be in the ADU, his parents. So when looking at your provisions, this lot meets 9 out of the 10 provisions of 507. It complies with all federal, state, and local requirements. It has not been issued a certificate of occupancy yet because it hasn't had a building permit because it's just raw land right now. But it's got plenty of land area to meet all that, plenty of dry area to meet all that. As you know, the Monroe family's been building quite a while, and they'll do what it takes to get all the proper permits. There's only one ADU for this one house. The owner of the property shall occupy the property. It will be maintain the single-family character of the neighborhood. It's similar in conformity in look and size of houses being built in that subdivision, and you cannot notice that it's an ADU there. Again, there's no indication from the change of the contour of the roof, the windows, or anything that would indicate there's something above that garage or something behind that garage. It has internal door through the garage, so from the garage you can access the main house as well as the ADU. The ADU also has the sliders in the back. It also has a side door on the right-hand side. the garage also has a different side door on the right-hand side, so it has 3 points of ingress, egress, for safety purposes. We use the same house number, mailbox, utility service. It will have adequate parking in the garage. It complies with the DES wastewater management. It's got a septic, you have a septic design already?
Preliminary.
Preliminary septic design, but there's plenty of land to do that. Although it's incidental and subordinate in extent to the use of the primary dwelling, it doesn't have 800 feet. So of your 10 criteria, we meet 9 of them. We're 129 feet too much over the cap the town has for the 800 square feet. This is an open space development, so there's a lot of land around everything. In the package, I show you the actual lot. You can see where there's some, well, I can't really see from what I show, but there's some wetland in setback, so the driveway can only come in from the plan you're looking at, can only come in looking at the lot from the right-hand side. You really can't come in the other side because it slopes at an angle.
It has an easement right on the lot next to it.
Yeah. Right. Yes, but it's a shared driveway. It's still, because of the dry area, it's coming in and working. Basically, that house is gonna sit where it's gonna sit, no matter what. Whether it's a bigger one-unit house or an ADU, it's still gonna sit there. It'll probably still be the same size. Looks like any other ADU, looks like any other single-family lot there. Beautiful house, actually. I really like the design. I mean, it's just comes in like a natural. And so what we're maintaining is, given the rear line of the main house and the rear line of the ADU are the same, given the side is the same, you can't tell from the front that an ADU is there. It can't be visibly noticed because it's consistent with the exterior lines of the house. So it just fits right in. And at that point, I just want to bring, as an aside, Nick did some research, and last May at 311 Charles Bancroft Highway, guy's got a humongous garage. I don't know if it's detached or it's a breezeway, detached. But he got approval from this town for a 1,400 square foot ADU, again, for his parents. That was a little bit different setup in the sense that that garage was being built, wasn't finished being built when he applied for the variance. Nothing's been built here at all, but I mentioned that, you know, we get parents going above a garage. The town recently gave one that was substantially above the 800 square feet. We go through the criteria, which it did in the package, basically, to be contrary to the public interest, the variance must unduly in a marked degree conflict with the basic zoning ordinance. As I just pointed out, it meets 9 out of the 10 criteria. You can't even tell us an ADU. It meets all the town dimensional requirements, the state requirements. It does not unduly in a marked degree conflict with the basic zoning ordinance. Because of that, it is not contrary to the public interest, and it will observe the spirit of the ordinance. Substantial justice, there has to be, the loss to, is that any loss to an individual is not outweighed by a gain to the general public. There's no gain to the general public other than the ubiquitous gain of the public would like to see all the zoning requirements adhered to, but we wouldn't be here today or any other day asking for a variance if that was the etched in stone criteria. We're here for a variance. But it meets all the public safety requirements, but if the owner of the property is not able to, the potential owner is not able to do that, he might not be able to solve the problem of where his parents are going to be, because now they want a smaller downsized spot and they want to be by the family, or a better way for an ADU. So in this case, substantial justice will be done by granting variance, because there wouldn't be a loss to an individual. There's really no loss to the town either. So now we're back down to the hardship. The hardship is, on one hand, very simple. Without the variance, you can't do what you're trying to do. But is the use reasonable? The use is reasonable. It's allowed by state law. It's allowed by the town law. That is, the use of the ADU is allowed. So there's two aspects here. Is the ADU allowed? These days, it's allowed in any single-family zone in the state. It's allowed at 800 square feet from you guys. The state allows up to 950. So the discussion is the 129 extra square feet, okay? In terms of the hardship, you know, if they want to pursue that reasonable use, it has to be something that meets the other criteria. It has to fit in the neighborhood, it has to not stand out, and it's got to aesthetically look like it fits in that house. This meets all that requirement. If you were to carve out somehow the 129 square feet, either by cutting out facade or shortening the back, if you walked around the house, it would no longer fit the lines and conform with the lines of the house. Right now, it fits perfectly. The right side goes straight down, the back cuts across, it fits everything. If we cut it out, it will be an oddity. It'll be like, hey, why did they just carve out this thing? You know, you'd want to keep the downstairs, no matter, you end up carving out the top, the second floor, and that would only be one bedroom. And the parents have other people, kids that would want to visit, they want to have a spot to stay. So the hardship is looking at the other criteria, okay, if this is not granted, the other criteria, your law becomes inconsistent, your ordinance becomes inconsistent. The only way it's going to conform with all of those 9 criteria is to keep it the way it fits into that building now. It's a reasonable use. So I say we meet all 5 criteria, and we request that you grant the variance. We're open for questions.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? We had these, I don't know if you want to see these, did you?
I got them here.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got a copy of it as well.
So I'm gonna ask the first question. The plans that were submitted electronically show the ADU at 1,035 square feet. When I calculate the size of this ADU, it seems like it's over 950. And that's being generous.
It's calculated specifically, you'll have to talk to Matt on that regard. He does all of his calculations on livable square footage and what the town requires. Like, from what I've heard from him, he would have to speak with it specifically, is closets don't count, stairwells don't count in the square footage, and there was other different criteria that don't count in the actual livable square footage of the ADU. So we would have to ask him, and he gave us that actual square footage count of 129 square feet over the 800 square feet that's allowed. So the actual ADU size is 929.
Laura, can I ask Matt?
Yeah, and it just, I think if you look at the zoning, it's of gross living area above ground, so I think what he's saying is correct, and I was just going to see if we define it, which I'm assuming we do, but absolutely ask Matt and see what he has to say.
Hey, Matt, what's your interpretation of that, and why is it like that? I'm thinking of it more on the fact that I thought it was just like you get taxed. Square footage, outside dimensions of your home, anything that's inside, you're taxed.
Yeah, so on the ADU, it's on livable square footage, so we go into the IRC code, which we condition spaces, so stairwells usually aren't conditioned spaces, closets aren't conditioned spaces, any place that's habitable. Usually habitable spaces, technically if you get into it, 70 square feet, usually 10 by 7. Average size of the bedroom is what's considered in the IBC IRC. What I've done coming in is to try to keep consistency is what the previous inspectors have done prior to me. So they have taken those out. It's funny that you mention that because tomorrow I meet with planning to try to change some of our ADUs to just how you're saying it. It's gross square footage, it's not livable, it's not above ground, it's, you know, it's the whole structure itself.
Is there a meeting tomorrow?
There's a meeting tomorrow. Yeah.
Because I watched their last meeting, and I was thinking that after I saw this, I was thinking that I needed to get in on that, because if the interpretation is what you're saying it is, okay.
Yep.
I just think that if my property is taxed on square footage of the outside of the box, I think square footage should be based off of that as well.
Yep.
But that's just my take. And if that's the way you're going, that's the way it's been done,
Yep.
I can accept it until we get it changed.
Yeah, we, like like, for the process, we submitted the building permit and we did that, and that's how we came up with the square footage.
Electronically, it says 1,035 or
Yeah,
something
yeah,
like that.
yeah.
So electronically, it's 1,000 square feet for the first floor. 1,030 is for the whole first floor. The ADU separately is 950.
Right,
So
on this one, but on the electronic copy, it's 1,035 for the
No.
ADU.
I think what he's saying is that's just the first floor. I see it right here in the top right-hand side.
yes.
That's what I'm telling you, the electronic copy says 1,035.
Yeah, so that's how it was submitted, and then when we spoke with Matt about the square footage counts,
Yep.
we had the architect come back, and I think it was just that, process from,
That was where my confusion
Yeah.
is, because that's what I was looking at
Yeah.
preparing for this. That's all.
Oh, I'm glad we're here tonight then instead of next week.
Well, I've learned something now.
Any other questions?
So, and this house obviously hasn't been built yet, right?
It's not.
It's a lot.
Just a lot, and it's the planning stage, and so there, well, we can talk about the rules, you know, I don't know where the hardship is, since, but we'll talk about that, I guess, as we get in there. Yeah. I don't have any questions, I don't think.
So I'm gonna go back to the square footage. So the total square footage is 929.
929.
Gross living area.
However, the town calculates it.
Okay. And what does it consist of? Like, what's going on in the ADU? What do you have? You have
Two bedrooms upstairs with like a Jack and Jill bathroom, and downstairs is an open concept living room, kitchen. Then there's a laundry tucked right in at the rear of the staircase. If you look at the second page of the plan, it gives the interior layout. Second and third page.
That's the first floor, I think, because this is the garage. Kitchen, living room. So this is the upstairs, I think this is the downstairs.
So the ADU will have upstairs, downstairs, and the downstairs is behind where the cars are gonna park in the garage?
Right.
So 2 bedrooms upstairs with a bathroom upstairs?
Yes.
yes.
And then downstairs, another bathroom?
Yes, there's a.
Half bath.
Half bath downstairs.
So the shared interior door is the one that goes into the garage.
Right.
Any other questions?
I'm trying to understand the town's thoughts on the dimensions limits, the small, the bottom size and the large size. Why would we make it's gotta be at least this and it can't be bigger than this? What's the gist there? What's the motivation?
I don't know, the state has that. I think they just don't want somebody to toss in a tiny little studio
Okay.
that doesn't easily convert back to something else. I would imagine, I don't
It's on
know.
the small side, right?
I mean, at a certain point in time, if we were in New York City, maybe, maybe
be
200 feet would be the
It'd be
bottom
completely
limit. I
different
don't
in New
know.
York City. So what's on the high end? Why would they?
Well, the
limit
state
that?
has just moved their high end to 950.
Okay.
Okay, the town's is, I've seen it two ways. I think the state is 750 as the low end, and the town, I think, has 500, but that's not allowed anymore. But, so I'm assuming universally, the low end is 750, and the high is 950 in terms of the state, and low end is 750 for the town and 800 for the town. Why? I don't know. I mean, I will say this, I represent a lot of landlords, do a heck of a lot of evictions of older buildings. I would say 90% of the apartments I deal with, they're all between 750 and 900 square feet. 2 bedroom, 1 bath, a living kitchen, I mean, a kitchen, dining area, and a living room. You go up and down Manchester, they're all that size. Probably most of them, anywhere between 750 and 900 square feet. I think that's probably, over time, that's an acceptable size for two people to live in. I'm just assuming this because it's so ubiquitous out there.
I know during the last planning board meeting, they talked about the fact that they had to strike the 500 square feet because it doesn't meet the minimum anymore. And there was a proposal to put it to hearing at 950 to match the state. And they did not elect to change it from the 800, though they said they would wait and see if anybody came in to give them reasons on why they should up it to the 950. That was where they stand.
Thank you.
They can only make a recommendation, it's just have to go to the voters
Right,
in March, right?
In my reasoning is what I see. I do hundreds and hundreds of evictions. They're all within that range.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, well, we can open it for public input. We did not have anything in the file relating to public input, so is there anybody here in favor of the application that wishes to speak? I'll let the record reflect that there is no one. Anybody in opposition or with questions? I'll let the record reflect there is no one for that. Any other further comments from the applicant?
I think, it's an unusual thing where the criteria for the ADU talks about physical characteristics of the building only in the aesthetic look of it, okay? If this was a quarter-acre lot or a 50-acre lot, we still wouldn't be talking about the lot. We'd be talking about the building. So it is difficult to perceive what the hardship is if we want to say it's intrinsic to the lot. But if we talk about the hardship of the use of the property in today's day and age, where more and more people are getting back to what was 100 years ago, where families are starting to live together. In matter of fact, it's being promoted everywhere with the new state laws. You can have more unrelated people in the same house, et cetera, for the housing shortage. There is a hardship here to facilitate that. We're going back and forth. Now we're headed back to, we're going back to the future, so to speak. To facilitate that type of a living arrangement, you have to do something that people are willing to use and can use with the modern lifestyle. 100 years ago, the closets were small because you had your Sunday clothes and you had your work clothes. That was it. You didn't have a driveway or garage because you walked down to the farm or the factory or whatever. It's not the case, and we're not going back there. Mom and dad from 3,000 square foot house is going to want a little living room where they can have friends or kids over. They're not going to want to tuck themselves into 500 square feet or 750 square feet. Plus, this just fits perfectly with the garage and the house. But the hardship is we have a state law, we have a town law that's designed, it was themed to accommodate initially families living together, but other people living together in an innocuous way. Can't do that really with an area so small. And it's not like, where does it end? Does it end at 1,400 square feet, like 311? That's probably high, but I'm just telling you from my experience as a landlord attorney in real estate, this is right the target size.
And I would have to argue that there is precedent. You guys did approve, a variance for a ADU that it was above the 800 at 311 Charles Bancroft Highway. Yes, it was a bigger size garage, so the actual layout was 1,400 square feet, but you didn't force them to reduce the size at all, didn't force them to do any changes or anything like that. And I can argue here that our garage is similar in size to that. So if we could have increased this all the way to the front side of the garage as well. So, but we tried to conform to what the state allowed, which was 950, and tried to work in that time, as well as work with the customer to try to make it so that their livable area is conforming to their lifestyle.
The new lifestyle.
Yeah.
I have one follow-up question for Matt. So Matt, if we just look at the overall square footage of the accessory dwelling without gross living area, taking things out, what do we have approximately?
1,116 square feet.
1,116 square. Okay, thank you. Anything else? All right, somebody want to make a motion to close public input
Make a motion to close off public input.
in a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. All right, so we're into our deliberations. Any thoughts initially before we go through the 5 criteria?
It's the first one I've seen come before us being built as a house, a home, whole. So usually it's we want to add on. This is the first one. It looks damn good. I could give them that. I mean, this is probably the best time to do it, to make it look as good as you can. I mean, I really expected the hardship to be to get the family under one roof. Because that's why it's happening nowadays, because of the cost of homes. But
But that's a hardship, that's not necessarily the hardship criteria, how it's analyzed for a variance.
I know.
Yeah, so my thought is, is there something unique about this lot that forces them to, or unique about the situation in order for them to go above the 800? And I'm not sure, if someone convinced me that there's something unique here that makes them be able to go over, the 800.
And I think with these type of variances, that's where it gets a little bit tricky, because the hardship doesn't necessarily apply to what they're trying to do, so therefore they can't meet it. Like when you have a use variance, it's the same thing. The hardship criteria is difficult because it's hard to meet that, and I think I believe we're gonna find the same thing here. And I think we're also gonna find, in my opinion, I'm finding it difficult to find how the substantial justice, like how the applicant is at a loss. Remember, criteria 3 is the balancing act, the loss to the public. The loss to the applicant is outweighed by any gain to the public. I don't see where the applicant is suffering a loss he can have an accessory dwelling unit, he can have it up to 800 square feet. I don't see where that's going to be a loss to him. That's not outweighed by a gain to the public of keeping those accessory dwelling units at a certain size, and that's what the town's trying to do. So I'm gonna have a little bit of a struggle with that as well. Do you wanna go through them and see where we come out?
Sure.
All right. First criteria is a variance will not be contrary to the public interest because, and he went through. He says it will not be contrary to the public interest and will observe the spirit of the ordinance, so he combined those, because. He's basically saying it will not unduly and unmockingly conflict with the basic zoning objectives of the ordinance, and it's not affecting the health, safety, and welfare of the public. So it's consistent with the spirit of the ordinance. And he's citing, because it meets 9 out of the 10 criteria. So that's what we have for 1 and 2. Any thoughts on that?
I don't have any issues with those two.
Jordan, any issue with those 2?
I don't have any, I don't think it affects public interest other than, it doesn't meet the 800, but, it doesn't affect our public interest.
Okay.
by going above that, I don't believe.
And the purpose of it, according to our zoning, is to permit an ADU for the sole purpose of providing the owner occupant of a single-family dwelling flexibility in living arrangements and to provide alternative housing. So everybody's good with 1 and 2 then?
Yes.
Yes.
And then the third criteria is substantial justice will be done. That's where the loss to the applicant is not outweighed by any gain to the public. I do struggle with this one because I am not seeing any loss to the applicant by sticking to the zoning criteria of 800. But that's just my thought. Love to hear what other people have to say.
I think especially since it isn't built yet and there's no design or construction restrictions or anything that they have to work around, I see there's no loss either.
Anybody else?
I agree with you.
I don't really have too much of a problem with it, but,
Right, but we gotta look at the criteria.
no, I understand. I just, to me, the loss is to the families. That's what the loss is at this point. I mean, originally it was said they wanted to stay in town and this was the only way they could do it. That would be the loss to them, is to not be able to do this. But that's just my opinion.
I'm trying to see what he has in here. All right, well, I think we got 1, 2, 3, saying that criteria number 3 is not met, so let's move forward with that reasoning until we get to the end. 4, the values of surrounding properties are not diminished. I don't think we really heard anything either way. It's a beautiful home. I don't see where the values necessarily would be diminished. We don't have any values to really go with because everything's brand new.
There's no diminishing, I agree with them.
All right.
It's increasing the value, if anything.
All right, and the last one is the hardship. So we have to, 1, find how the property's unique as it relates to the variance request, and if there's a fair and substantial relationship between the general public purposes of the ordinance and the specific application of that provision to the property, and the proposed use is a reasonable one. Any thoughts to the hardship?
I could argue that the purpose of it is reasonable, but I can't give you a reason to argue the hardship.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I can't, like I said, find anything unique about the property itself to say that, but that's a sort of a different criteria, for uniqueness when you're coming into the, size of an ADU, but
Right.
it's still our criteria.
So it's the board's position that there's nothing unique about the property, that owing to there's no special conditions of the property that distinguish it from other properties in the area to allow the variance. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes.
And so with that, I believe we would be saying that there is a fair and substantial relationship between the general public purpose of the ordinance and the specific application of that particular provision regarding the size to the property. That was a lot, right? So I'll paraphrase that. So we're not finding that there's anything unique about the property that distinguishes it from other properties in the area. And from that, the second part of the analysis is that there would be we would say, based on the fact that we don't find anything unique, that there is a fair and substantial relationship between the public purpose of the ordinance provision and the specific application of that provision on the property, because we're not finding anything unique.
Gotcha, thank you.
And are we saying that we believe the proposed use is a reasonable one? Based on the application, I would probably venture to say that we would not be saying that, because we haven't found any uniqueness that would say why they can't stick to the 800 square feet. Yes?
Can't because they don't want them.
Well, they don't want
Because the
to.
states, because the state went up to 950. Obviously, it seems as though they tried to just go by that and see if we were gonna comply. That's what I think. But I can't speak for them either.
Right.
I have a little bit of a hard time saying no because of that, but you're right. By our rules, there's no hardship that says it needs to be done.
Right, and if the town wants to allow for larger ADUs, it needs to be, the planning board, or we need to change.
We need to change our zoning.
Unless there's some unique
Or the,
aspect.
right, or they meet the criteria, or the state
It's,
changes.
there's reasonable use, but there isn't hardship for that size and uniqueness of the property. So I agree.
All right, so with that, does somebody, based on our discussion, I believe the motion would be to deny. Does somebody want to make a motion in accordance with that?
I can make a motion that we
Okay,
deny
the
the
request,
variance, the request, based upon the fact that it doesn't meet.
3 and 5.
3 and 5.
I'll second that motion.
So that was George, me, John Devereux, second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed, so that's a 4-0-0. So unfortunately,
Okay.
the motion was denied.
Thank you.
Go.
It's a tough one, I agree.
And it would have been easier if the state statute was clearer.
I tell you, listening, and especially with one of 311, it's almost like if it was built, it'd be easier to convince of the hardship. But then that's kind of stupid, because why would we build something knowing that it's gonna spend more money reconfiguring?
Right.
That doesn't make sense, but,
Well, we appreciate you being here, and you can file
Sure.
with the appeal process. I know Attorney Sullivan, you're well aware of what can be done.
Sure.
Okay. All right, communications and other business, anything else?
No, the only thing I would have brought up is the planning board, and apparently it is tomorrow night. I do plan on going to that
Okay,
and speaking my piece as a resident of the fact that I think it should be encompassed by the outside area
as far as
of the property, as far as the total calculation of square footage. I don't want to speak for the zoning board, so I will make sure that I say that I am there as a resident. But I will point out the fact that I am a sitting member here,
Yep.
but it has nothing to do with that. I just think
Because
that
it's
it makes it easier because, I was trying to calculate it. I couldn't come up with the number they had digitally at 1,035. And that was why I kept saying, this is ridiculous. It should be easy to do.
Right.
So
If they
doing
come and
that would
tax my
make it-
house, they're doing the foundation and hitting the calculator.
There'd be less living space available under the new rules that you're suggesting.
Mhm.
Because it goes by the outside, which means that it doesn't carve out closets and stuff.
That's right.
That means you get less space.
That's right.
I'm trying to see, because
So,
yeah, I think it's a matter of the town having a nice section for definitions as it relates to, how do you define gross living area? Some municipalities do. I'm trying to think of.
yeah, because when I typically watch almost every meeting that this town has. I either watch it or listen to it while I'm working. And there was a couple of members that suggested bumping it up to the 950, but because they weren't prepared with reasons why, they neglected to move that forward on the public hearing. So they said that they were open to hearing it at the public hearing as to reasons why. I think it would be easier to match the state statute. That's just my personal opinion.
Right, and then.
As long as they calculate it the way I think they should calculate it by the outside.
Right, and we're tied by.
Oh, yeah.
We're supposed to enforce the things, and you need to meet the criteria, and if you don't meet
And
the
that's it.
criteria.
And I think people get frustrated with this board, this is, if you don't like it, this,
That other case, there was, because of storage or open space, there was conditions, like if we shrunk it down.
I probably wouldn't talk about that.
Okay.
Just because if he
Yeah.
wants to appeal it
Yeah,
and
whatever.
move forward with
Sure.
that, I'd probably save that discussion.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so that's the only thing I'd say is I plan on going to that planning board meeting and voicing my opinion on how they should calculate it and change their rules, but otherwise, I thought it was next week, but it's apparently tomorrow.
There you go. All right, so we have nothing else for communication and other business. Approval of minutes. We didn't have any presented to us to look at, so we're gonna hold off on that. Anything else?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn at 7:30, no, 7:40.
7:40, yeah.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, we are adjourned at 7:40.